This is the Solid Signal podcast for the week of October 26th, 2020. So I know I don't usually do this kind of thing until the end of December, but let's agree that 2020 hasn't worked out exactly the way that we thought. So why can't we just indulge in a little bit of forward thinking instead of looking back at the past? This week I wanted to talk at least a little bit about what we have in the year to come. Let's hope that the year to come means that things return to a little bit more of a normal kind of pattern in the entire country, not just in a couple of areas. Right now, we are in a state of flux. If you're listening to this podcast sometime in the future, let me tell you that there are some parts of the country that are doing okay and other parts of the country that are doing not okay. And there are some parts of the country where it's acknowledged that they're doing okay and other parts where maybe there's some denial that perhaps things could be better than they are. We're in a very odd place here at the end of October 2020, and we'd all like to look forward to 2021 with some excitement, especially in the world of home entertainment. We could all use a little bit more entertainment too, and I think that that's something that's always true, but in this year of all years, it's going to be very true. This year, we gained and we lost Quibi, the short-form video service that didn't quite work out the way that anybody was expecting. Or I should say worked out the way that some people were expecting, but not the people who created it. Next year, will we see additional streaming services? No, I don't think that we're going to see the coming of a new major streaming service. But what we will see is a new brand of streaming service. The current service known as CBS All Access will probably be branding as Paramount Plus or something else extremely trendy like that. And will probably include more content than it currently does. I've railed a little bit at CBS All Access for several years because they had just barely enough content to keep people paying and not any more than that. Hopefully, when they rebrand to Paramount Plus, that's going to make it a lot easier for them to beef up that content catalog. Of course, the funny thing is that Paramount were the original producers of the show Friends, which they then went ahead and sold to HBO Max, and who now have an exclusive for a very long time. And Friends was on the Paramount Network. I think it still might be on the Paramount Network because of that. So I think that we're going to see a new powerhouse in the form of Paramount Plus. On the other hand, I think that we're going to see a lot of people churn out of Apple TV Plus and Disney Plus in the next year because those people were convinced that they should buy either a year for free subscription or they were given a year free subscription because they bought an Apple device. And as that kind of ends, I think people are going to realize there isn't the value that they maybe thought there was. Disney Plus certainly has a lot of content. They've got the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe now, with the exception of maybe the Incredible Hulk. And I think they've got all of the rest of them. They've got all the Star Wars films and all that, that's great. They certainly have the entire Disney back catalog, and that should be enough. But what they don't often have is new content, some reason to make you go there when you really weren't going to go there before. So I don't know if they're going to see the continued growth that they had seen in their first year. On the other hand, it seems like things are still moving and grooving for Netflix. I've complained about Netflix for a while, but obviously they know what they're doing, and I don't. The real questions for me are what's going to happen with broadcast television and with pay television. Broadcast television has been very slowly lurching toward the next generation standard for broadcast called ATSC 3. And while I believe that may still be in our future, we're talking about at the earliest 5 years from now. And the real question is, what will the interest level be in broadcast television at that time? Especially if things change a little bit in the political spectrum in the next couple of months, you may see that change or slow or speed up. But all in all, it's going to take a little while. And I think that the excitement continues to dim for the next generation of TV broadcasting. It peaks up every so often when you hear some news, but then it goes back down because there really isn't a whole lot to talk about. But it's pay TV that I think that everybody's going to be asking a question about in the next 12 months. Will Directv still be around? Will Dish still be around? Will Comcast Cable still be around? Or Spectrum? These are all really excellent questions because most people have realized that there is a way to coexist between traditional pay TV and streaming. Most people have realized that going to a paid streaming live TV service isn't necessarily any better than traditional pay TV and sometimes can be worse. So I'm going to forecast a more robust year than you would expect for traditional pay TV in 2021. Yes, there are going to be persistent rumors about Directv this and Dish Network that and whatever. But the truth is these are still very strong competitors. And the tech space loves to talk about how, nobody's getting them anymore or nobody has pay TV anymore. But they're ignoring a huge, huge chunk of people who are still enjoying traditional pay television the way that they always have. And I don't think that's going to change in 2021. If anything, I think you're going to see a stabilization where customer loss rates slow, and I think that it's going to stabilize. I don't know. Is it really going to grow? That's hard to say. Maybe in 22, but probably not in 21. But what you're also going to see is that all of these companies have their fingers in so many different pies that they can afford to just keep traditional pay TV on a back burner, moving around slowly, maybe not with a lot of innovation, but it will still be there. And especially when it comes to Directv. I'm really not at liberty to discuss a lot of what goes on with Directv as we are AT&T preferred dealers. We're also Dish authorized retailers, so I can't say a whole lot there either. But I do think that a lot of these doom and gloom predictions that you find at various corners of the internet are just really silly and ridiculous, and they don't take into account the big picture. Some of them are really just based on sort of a spite level reaction that certain bloggers have had for years against these pay TV companies that are not grounded in reality. 2021 promises to be a good year for movies, and I'm personally applauding the idea that we're moving toward a distribution system where maybe you can see things on streaming for $20 the first weekend if you want to. I don't have a strong feeling about movie theaters growing in 21. I'm wondering even if as many of them as around today will even still be around at the end of 21. Because it's been very hard to maintain those businesses for several months as many of them were closed. I think the lack of interest in theaters is something that finally came around because people realize they've got nice TVs. They can watch it at home and get just as good of an experience. So I wonder if movie theaters are going to really kind of sink back to becoming one of those things you go to occasionally, almost like live theater, not something that you go to every weekend. That's going to change the economics of it. But again, I don't think that it's really going to impact the bottom line to a lot of studios who are really so diversified that it doesn't matter to them where their stuff premieres. It may mean that we see fewer truly big budget blockbusters, and I'm really kind of okay with that because I don't know about you, but I'm kind of over the idea of the traditional comic book based blockbuster with generic looking special effects that excites you for about an hour and a half while you're in the theater and then is almost instantly forgettable. It's okay if those go away and if we start to see more character driven movies with good effects that look good on TV and maybe they don't have to look good on a gigantic screen. I'm fine with that. I really am. And all in all, I have to say that this year has shown that we can innovate in the entertainment space. It's shown that we can be flexible, that we can find new ways to entertain ourselves, and that's a good thing. And 21 is only going to be better as a result of it. That's about it for me and the Solid Signal podcast. Please like and subscribe. It kind of makes me look good to my bosses. If you're on YouTube or Spotify or any other podcast aggregator, make sure you like and subscribe once you found this podcast. If you have any ideas for a podcast, leave a comment wherever you actually have listened to this, or contact the editor using the link at the bottom right of the Solid Signal blog, blog.solidsignal.com.